Welcome back to the Student Hub Live. Well, that was a fabulous session. I'm really pleased that you've enjoyed that. Everyone's chatting away, and we now have perhaps one of the most important sessions at the Student Hub Live. No pressure, Davin, who is my first guest, because we're going to be talking about working with your tutor. Now, John and George have just explained that this is a really important relationship, and indeed on Access, you have a one-to-one relationship with your tutor. You'll also have a one-to-one relationship with your tutor within tutor groups, within various different formats, if you're studying any module at the Open University. But you can do something to make the most of your tutor. Now, David, in addition to being a thespian, an actor, having tutored for 20 years at the Open University, your day job is basically overseeing a large group of tutors on Access.
Yeah, I kind of line manage tutors, and I also help train them.
Yeah.
So I feel, as you say, with 20 years' experience of doing it myself, I feel I've got kind of an insight, albeit I would say maybe slightly old school, about what would make a really good tutor-student relationship. And I think the key is that the student has to take some ownership of this, and they have to feel that they can actually empower that relationship, because so often students, and I don't blame them, they've paid good money and they're sitting in class or they're sitting in an online room, and they expect the expert to teach them. But I really think, it'd be worth talking about how a student can actually take some responsibility and put down in front of the tutor what their study needs are, and you never know, you might get a match. Yeah.
Now, if you haven't filled in our voting tools yet, we'd like to know if you know who your tutor is. We'd like to know if you've been in contact with them. Are you a brand new student? I love that word, brand new student, this February. And how helpful on our continuum from not very helpful to very helpful do you think your tutor is in your learning experience? If you are brand new, you might not know that, so you can just take a guess at how helpful you think they might be. But do let us know by filling those things in. HJ and Frank, what's going on over there?
Well, we're just having a good chat and welcoming Frank to the desk, who's joining me. But,
fabulous hat, Frank, if I do say so.
we were very curious about what hat Frank would choose.
I've never looked cooler.
No.
But we had a good chat about the modules we're studying as well. So we found out it's 4:15 in Sri Lanka at the moment, so getting near dinner time, it seems. But a lot of people are well in their degrees, and some people are just starting. So we'd love to know, and I know David loves taking your questions as well. So if you have any questions that you think, I'd like to ask my tutor that, but I'm not sure if I can ask them straight away, or about study experiences, then I know David would love that. But we've got a few people doing creative writing and music and business and environmental science, so we're studying lots of different modules. So it's just nice to hear how everyone's getting along.
Brilliant. Excellent. Of course, it's lovely having a real live tutor in the studio here as well. So tell us, David, about this relationship then with students. Taking ownership, you said, was really important. How do students take ownership, and how do they know what to take ownership of?
Yeah, I mean, the easy thing for a student to do would be just to sit and wait for everything to happen.
Yeah.
So the course materials come through the post, or they come through online. The tutor says, I'm here, contact me if you need me. You go off to a tutorial, either online or in the classroom, and you go along with everything. But I really feel that every student is an individual, and they've probably got study needs. And I think, now I have to speak quite carefully here, because of course tutors are paid, and they're paid to do a certain job, and there are boundaries around that job, and there are certain protocols about it.
And they also often are working elsewhere, aren't they?
They're often working elsewhere as well. So a normal thing for a tutor to do would be to lay down some ground rules. Yeah, and that will probably happen. It may not be as formal as ground rules, but they might say something like, I'm available, in the evening between this time and this time. So obviously you want a student to adhere to that, but at the same time, I think the worst case scenario is not a pushy student, but a silent student, as far as a student's concerned. I want to know how my students are doing, how they're finding it. And, unless I meet them in the classroom, or unless I call each one each week, which, it takes some time to do, I won't know that. So it's probably better, and a tutor will tell you if it's too much. I would rather err on the side of the student doing too much. So I would make contact with the student, certainly at the beginning of the module, with the tutor, and I would suggest to continue to make contact with the tutor at certain key points in the course. I would also say there is nothing wrong with ringing up and asking a question and seeking clarification about, as you're studying. But what I mean by individual study needs is that people learn in different ways. So you'll get an essay back from your tutor, right? And many tutors are trained to say, this is almost a shot in the dark, what they're saying in terms of the feedback, because it's the first essay by the student. The tutor doesn't know the student that well. So in a way, they're treating the student as a kind of objective student, right? Now, it might well be that you're someone who prefers advice about how to prepare for the next essay based on what you've done in the first essay in a very simple form. You might like, what you need to do for your next essay is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? If that's you, and you haven't got that from your tutor, I would say that to the tutor. Because sometimes the tutor might think, they need comprehensive feedback on every comma and every full stop and every point that's been made. I know I encourage my students to get in touch with me and to tell me what their study needs are, and that's one of the things I say. Tell me, do you want comprehensive feedback, or do you want actually more straightforward feedback that can easily be implemented in an easier way?
I had a lovely email from a student yesterday who'd broken things down into his study and then about his life.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, because I think so many people just focus on the study, but actually it's, a lot of it is, as you say, it's individual,
Yeah.
and study is never happening just in isolation.
Yeah.
It's always by a person who has a limited resource at any one time, with limited interest in certain things and other things, etc.
Yeah.
So there are all these variables that are really important.
Absolutely. So I send out a welcome message. I used to send it by post. I now send it by email. And I role model what I want back from the students. So I do some personal disclosure. I don't go into it too much, but I say about my background and so on. And then I get that back from the students. I actively encourage that. Now, I'm not blaming a tutor if they don't do that. They should send a welcome note, but I would definitely make it more personal.
Yeah.
When you talk to your tutor, tell him or her about yourself. What are your passions? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are you trying to achieve through the study with the Open University? Tell them, and leave it for the tutor to be able to process it all and manage that and use it as necessary. Now, if you say something like, I need to get a pass 1 on this course, or else I'm going to lose my job. I'm making this up now. Yeah.
I've heard similar things though.
Yeah.
I
the tutor's not going to say, I
that,
must get them a pass 1. I don't mean it that way. But as a tutor, I want to know more about the individuals that I'm working with, so that it just helps me to, as I say, to form a more effective relationship with them.
Absolutely. And I think you're right, and we've done sessions before on sort of thinking about what grades you want to achieve and what resources you have to meet those grades, which is very important. But like you say, you could tailor some of that material. Now, you mentioned some students saying, I want more comprehensive things. I can imagine every student might want more comprehensive.
Yeah.
But is that always helpful? And how might students articulate that in a way that is actually going to be supportive? Because if I say to you, right, David, I want really comprehensive feedback, you go away and you give me more and more and more, and I'm like, I'm completely overwhelmed here. Now I've got no idea what's going on.
I'd say over the last couple of years, we've told our access tutors to try and be a bit more practical, a bit more effective, because people come in on access are not on a degree yet. So actually they may have been away from education for quite some time. So they need to be eased in gradually. And I think actually some level 1 students need that too. If you overwhelm them with academic feedback, it's just going to wash them away. Whereas, if you're able to tell your tutor, if you want this, that I want to know what I've done well on this essay. I want to know what I need to do. It's that simple, And I really would encourage students to, only if they want that. If you want more, fine. Also, you get an overall assessment on your essay. You also get script comments. I say to my students, do you like me having a dialogue with you on the script, and then keeping the overall assessment very straightforward? I teach a range of arts courses, and inevitably most students say, yes, we prefer that. So I have this lovely dialogue with them, in the margins of their script. And, but it's up to each individual student now looking into this. Don't be afraid to identify what your study needs are. would you like a very straightforward, very simple overall assessment about how your essay's done, followed by a phone call? What's wrong with that? You could ask your tutor that. Some tutors might say, well, I don't do that because I'm only doing correspondence tuition. But some tutors might say, yes, that's a good idea. I'd like to do that.
But I guess the challenge to some extent is knowing what's available and what you want. It's almost like if I were coming to you sort of learning a language, I might not actually know how to learn a language. I might not say I want everything, I might not know that I need certain things. And so it's a bit of a balance, I guess. I want to talk to you a little bit in a second. I know there are questions on the hot desk about how you can take some responsibility, going back to that first point you mentioned about ownership and maybe about reflecting back so that your tutor and having a bit more of a dialogue. But let's go to the hot desk and see what HJ and Frank are talking about.
We're just having a good chat about the ways we introduce ourselves to our tutor, and I know Frank's picked up on a great comment.
Yeah, Juliana, great idea here. She sent a picture of herself and her dog Benny as a way of getting her tutor just to be familiar with the face. Yeah. So hopefully Benny's helped establish a nice relationship there with the children.
I really like that idea.
That's a brilliant idea.
Juliana,
Really nice.
Cats as well.
Cats as well, yes. All types of animals.
Other pets are available.
That's true. But Juliana also said that her tutor's really quick to answering her questions, and it's made her feel really good starting off as well. Alice had a great question about contacting the tutor before the first phone call or before the tutor sent out the first email. Is that something we can do?
Yeah, this is a good question, David, because we've asked our audience if they know who their tutor is, and 80% of them said that they do, but only 75% have been in contact with their tutor. Okay. And I know that some students who maybe have registered late are still sort of getting allocated a tutor. What would you say?
I would say get in touch with them. Absolutely. That's part of the responsibility, part of being proactive. Taking responsibility for your own study is to contact your tutor. Yeah. If it's not the right time, you can just leave a message and they'll...
Or just send an email of your dogs.
Send an email. Send an email. Absolutely. I mean, because I model in my welcome letter some of the things I'm interested in, which is cinema and film. I've had, I'm just about to start AA 100 as a tutor this year. Been doing it for a long time. And it never fails to amaze me and gives me great pleasure when I get messages back, emails back, saying, I've just been to see, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. And we started talking about this, I've just seen this great show on TV, tell me more about it. And it's a really good, because, as a student, one of the things I wanted to get in this morning, even though it's not directly about working with your tutor, is part of this empowerment is to always be curious as a student, not wait for tutor-directed learning or course material-directed learning, but take the initiative. And when I was a student back in the 70s, an OU student, it took me about 2 years, and I really regret these 2 years when I wasn't doing what I'm advocating, suddenly I became really curious. So everything I saw and every interaction I had, everything I did, and everybody, it was all in the context of what I was learning. I mean, the obvious thing is, if you're studying the arts, go to art galleries, watch good films, go to the theatre and so on. But you can just watch it on TV or something you're reading in the paper. It's always about making connections and be curious. Now, your tutor, as I say, is limited in what they can do. So this is what I mean. Be proactive with your tutor. Tell them what your study needs are. See what kind of deal you can get in terms of, do you prefer phone calls to email? Do you prefer email to phone calls? Do you prefer comprehensive feedback? Do you prefer kind of more straightforward feedback? But most of all is to be curious, make connections, and really enjoy studying, whatever it is you're studying. I'll give you an example. I just mentioned this film, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
I haven't seen that.
I've encouraged all my students to go and see, as a pre kind of thing. There's a moment in it, this is about making connections, where suddenly we're in, I'm not going to spoil it, by the way, for people, but someone's in hospital, they've been badly burnt, and they're covered in bandages. Suddenly the camera is a point of view shot with bandages all round the camera. You see what I mean? In other words, we become the audience, we become this patient. And what's important about this is he's a bad guy in the film. And another patient in the room is someone who's hurt. And he's desperate for a drink, this first patient. And the guy, we don't know what he's going to do. We think he might even want to hurt him. But he makes him he pours him out some orange juice, gives it to him, the drink comes up and the straw goes into, if you like, our mouths through the bandages. Now, you know, years ago I wouldn't have had a clue about why did the director choose to do that. Well, what I would say is this is an act of love in the film. In a film full of hate and violence, this is a turning point in the film where love and being good to each other is being suggested, and we become that patient, and the straw goes into our mouths. It's a magnificent moment, yeah? And students need to, I think, whatever they're studying, it doesn't matter, it's maths or science or whatever. I mean, that moon last night was just amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Just be curious, ask questions of everything you're doing. But of course, the most important thing is the course materials, the study materials, things your tutor is saying to you. Ask questions, seek clarification. If you don't know, don't sit there like so many students do, like I did when I was a student, saying, I don't want to, you know, come over as stupid. Ask, suggest things, and actually challenge yourself and volunteer things as well, because it's really important.
As ever, David, they're absolutely loving this. I just want to take a quick trip to the hot desk, where the hats have changed.
Yeah, we're told by Cara that she finds our hat choices interesting, so I don't know whether that's good or not, but Alice said she has snakes, so she doesn't know whether or not her tutor would like a picture of the snakes. I think it will start a conversation, but Alice says, well, either that or she'll assign me a new tutor, but whatever way, Alice will definitely be remembered for sending
Hopefully
those
he
snakes.
hasn't got a phobia there, HJ.
That is true. But Kimberly's got a lovely comment. She says, David is my tutor for AA 100, and she said she glad he likes students who talk lots, so be prepared.
Oh, excellent. I bet everyone's very jealous now that you're their tutor. The final point I wanted to touch on, just to sort of clarify, is your point about trying to seek clarification.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you could explain how students might go about doing that in a way that is enabling them, in a way that isn't just saying, I don't understand this TMA, because it's very difficult for tutors to answer questions like that. Can you clarify what you mean by this, blah? I often find, in my role as a tutor, I often find it more helpful when students say, can I just check I've got this right? Yeah. And I just wonder if you might sort of point students into ways that might be more helpful, sort of bringing us right back to the start, where you were encouraging students to take some responsibility and agency over this, seeking this clarification, because it's about this relationship, it's about checking and bouncing back.
Absolutely.
Finding connections.
I think, you know, if a student is not sure about a TMA question, they must ask. I mean, they can ask other students on forums, but they must ask their tutor, I think. And again, I think a good tutor-student relationship would be that the tutor, exactly as you said, will throw back questions to the student. But unless that student's made contact, that's not going to happen. So the tutor might say, well, what is it you're not certain about? Do you understand this bit? Do you understand that? And we'll get the student to unpack it for them. Because obviously the tutor can't give the answer, but it's about unpacking things, making sure the student absolutely knows what they're about, you know, what the question is about. I think also very importantly is in tutorials, either in the classroom, hopefully, or online, is not to just sit there. I used to teach Shakespeare quite a lot, still do a little bit, and one of the things about Shakespeare in the verse, in a sonnet or in a play is iambic pentameter. And I remember years and years ago, I used to say, now Elizabethan verse is made up of iambic pentameter, which is 10 beats, and all the students were writing this down, and that was it. And then one student came back to me and said, so what? What's the point of that? I don't get it. And it completely changed the whole tutorial. Because suddenly I had to explain, I had to get off my pedestal of being an expert and explain what this really meant. And I'll explain now, and I'm sure everyone here in this room knows what it is. People listening might know what it is, but I'm just going to unpack it a bit. This wouldn't happen unless the student was curious and was making connections and was making demands on me. So I had to unpick it. I said, well, so shall I compare thee to a summer's day is 10 beats. It's a perfect iambic pentameter. And the important thing there is that someone is saying to someone else, you are perfect. I love you completely. And therefore the line completely fulfills the iambic rule of 10 beats. Okay? So, very often in Shakespeare, he either goes under the 10 beats or he goes over it. To be or not to be, that is the question. Hold on a minute. We got 11 beats. What's going on? See, this is what happened in the classroom. I kid thee not. This is exactly why. And someone said, well, why? Why is it 11 then? Oh, he just made a mistake. He couldn't fit it in. No. The person speaking is wondering whether to kill himself or not. So the emphasis is on question, on the 11th beat. The audience at the Globe in 1604 would have known that. What's going on? It's broke. Literally, they would have known that. We as students have to know, therefore, that the important word in that line is question. Should I live or die? And this is how meaning is created in the arts. If that student hadn't asked me that, we would never have gone there. And maybe me and 20 other students would have gone off in a different direction. But he unpicked it, sought clarification, and all our worlds changed.
David, that's all we've got time for, and I'm so glad you're coming back later this afternoon when we're going to talk about different modules. You always go down so well with the students. People have been saying that they would love all their tutors to come on Student Hub Live, and indeed it is so good. And one thing I must say I love about you is this ability to sort of show how a dialogue can lead somewhere that you may not expect. It's not necessarily about knowing the question that you want the answer to. It's about connecting and engaging. And you've really shown why that's important. So thank you, David.
You're very welcome.
In other news, Katie says, oh my God, make it stop. Katie, we're going to try and confiscate the hats and find out where they have been coming from, but we can't guarantee that will happen. David's been promoting the arts. We were trying to encourage students to look at maths before. Next, we've got another tutor, but we're going to be joining Rob Moore, who actually tutors in business. And he's going to be showing us about the virtual learning environment. He's going to show you how to submit your TMAs, how to book on tutorials, and what the online room tutorial system looks like, which is an Adobe Connect. He'll then give you a live demo of that. So I'm looking forward to that next session. We'll see you in a few minutes. We're going to do another of our campus tours, and this time we're going to look at the Gardner building. And if you enjoyed David's session, which I know a lot of you really, really did, he will be back this afternoon for more. So we'll see you very soon.